This week in news, we recap the Game Awards. Extra, hear all about it.
And I did not pull this up. Hold on.
Holding.
Alright. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about awards time. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms you need to know about, or want to know about, or just are on. All the socials and everything. I'm the Dean Slater. And joining me today is twitch.tv/LMJ the Hitman, Landen.
Hello, once again. Feeling better. I'm feeling good. Feeling better than I was and have been.
Yeah, that mountain that you were trapped on sure was cold, huh?
It was one hell of a mountain. Gave me a cold.
So yeah, we're going to be going through the Game Awards. So what we're gonna start with first is I'm gonna just start reading off the winners of the awards. I want to make sure that they get their time in the sun. And then we'll discuss some of our announcements that we really enjoyed. And then if you want to discuss any specific award, feel free to stop me as I'm reading through.
Okay, not a problem. I plan on it.
All right. So, mobile game, Marvel Snap. Fighting game, Multiverses. Esports game, Valorant. Esports athlete, Yay. Esports coach, Bazooka, which is BZKA, which I thought was pretty cool. Content creator, Ludwig. Player's voice, Genshin. That was a battle, by the way. I don't know if you saw that on social media.
I did see that, yes. It was going crazy there for a while. It was Sonic there for a minute.
Yeah. No, it was between... None of the other games had a chance. It was between Sonic and Genshin. But Genshin ended up winning. Ongoing game, Final Fantasy XIV. Community support, Final Fantasy XIV. Family game, which you can hear my thoughts on the winner of the family game in our post-show on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, and that was Kirby. I already said fighting game. I have fighting game on here twice, apparently. Best performance, Christopher Judge. Debut indie, Stray. Adaptation, Arcane. Most anticipated.
Hold on. I just want to give the milk and cookies also to Cyberpunk, man. Like, I had to have been a very, very close like ruling, because I think both of those things are just absolutely phenomenal pieces of work, and I wasn't unhappy with the decision either or. It would have been happy. So
what if it ended up being Sonic though?
I mean, I also could have seen that too, because Sonic 2 was a good movie, man, and like as far as the big screen goes, like that's a good adaptation for a big screen. Made big bank, was good. Yeah. It's a good sequel. It's better than the first, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely better than the first. What was the other nominee for adaptation? There was another
Sonic, Cyberpunk, and the obviously Arcane, and Uncharted was one of them. Yeah.
Oh, Uncharted, yeah. That one definitely was not winning. No offense to...
I don't think it was going to win, but I don't think it was a bad movie either, but definitely not worth a win, or really, especially doesn't deserve a win because adaptation-wise, it did a pretty bad job. But not bad movie, though.
Yeah. Most anticipated Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You guys know I went off on that. Because I've been wanting that game for 5 years now. Going on 6.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that too. Definitely deserves. Was anticipated.
Yeah. Sports/racing GT7. No surprise there.
Yeah, no brainer.
Multiplayer was a surprise to me. Splatoon 3 won best multiplayer.
I can't believe that won. I really can't believe that.
I saw that and I was like, what?
Like Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, like those were the winners, especially Fortnite.
I was kind of going through my prediction as the show is going on, okay, this is going to win, this is going to win. I was doing really good. The only two I had missed prior to that was ongoing and community support. And I said, and in my prediction, I was like, I'm going Fortnite because it's fucking Fortnite. But Final Fantasy XIV did win last year for both those categories. So I did mention Final Fantasy XIV at least, even if I didn't quite predict it.
Mm-hmm.
In my prediction, when they were showing the nominees or whatever, I go, yeah, Splatoon 3, there's no way it's getting it. And then they're like, Splatoon 3. I was like, what the fuck?
Damn.
They debated me. Sim/strategy Mario plus Rabbids, which I don't think there was any of the other nominees. No offense to them, they're all good games. I don't think they were taking it from Mario and Rabbids. I think that was a lot. RPG was Elden Ring, which I predicted, but I feel like Elden Ring's RPG elements are so little compared to the other RPG nominees that they need to really look at the RPG genre in general. Just like they need to look at the action genre in general, because there's so many different types of RPGs.
I agree. There could and should be a maybe like a couple subgenres, because almost every game has RPG elements in it these days. So to make RPGs just so you have JRPG, you could have JRPG, and then you could have generalization RPG,
Western RPG, like
Western RPG, JRPG, and just maybe even just RPG, like best RPG adaptation. So like a game that kind of like God of War is not an RPG, but it has RPG elements. So like it has adaptive elements. You could do something like that.
Yeah. I just RPG anymore has basically been turned into secondary game of the year. Action adventure, God of War. Action was another surprise to me. It went to Bayonetta 3, which I thought with the mixed reception Bayonetta 3 had, that maybe it loses because of that mixed reception, but no, people went with it. It's good for Bayonetta 3.
For real. Yeah, that prequel game they announced is weird looking, man. Real weird.
Weird looking, but I have it on my list just in case. I came up with 10 games, but a lot of them are just in case you take one of my games. I could talk about something different.
Okay.
So let's see. VR AR, Moss Book 2. Innovation and accessibility, which is a big one for me. God of War, which I had no doubt God of War was taking that one.
I think Last of Us could have also had it, but yeah, I can also see why God of War got it.
See, my thing with The Last of Us, and I had discussed this before the show too, is the problem with The Last of Us is they didn't remake the game from the ground up, so some of the accessibility features ended up feeling forced in and didn't quite work with the game as well as they could have, which is why I didn't think Last of Us was going to get it. Because you talk to Steven Spawn or Steve Saylor, they'll both say, hey, you've got to think about accessibility at the ground level. Like, you have to go in, to the game with accessibility in mind. And, obviously, when Last of Us initially came out, accessibility was not as big of a thing. So when they were remaking it, and because they weren't going ground up, it was, it felt forced, and that's why they say that. But I'm not discounting what they did either. I think they did a good job with what they did, could do with, the pre-existing, programming and everything. But yeah, I had no doubt God of War was taking that one. Indie was Stray. Games for Impact, As Dusk Falls. And I guess before I go too far, so I like that they have indie and debut indie, because it gives games a chance to win if they don't win indie, because there's some really, really good indie developers that have, grinded and done things, so it allows them to be, to win, and then the up-and-comers win. But Stray won both those. I feel like if you're in debut indie, you almost shouldn't be in indie, because, again, it's one of those things, like I was mentioning earlier, in our pre-show, that it just, too many of the same games take from other games,
Mm-hmm.
And if you have two different indie categories, just keep them separate, so so that way, it gives a chance for everyone to have a better shot at winning,
Yes.
So Stray won both debut indie and indie. Games for Impact, As Dusk Falls. Audio design, God of War. Score and music, God of War. Art direction, Elden Ring. Game direction, Elden Ring. Narrative, God of War. And Game of the Year, Elden Ring. And for those of you counting at home, yes, God of War won 5 awards. Elden Ring won 4 awards. And there was like...
God of War got 6 awards.
Was it? Oh, was it 6? I might have miscounted.
Yeah, I got 6 awards.
So,
well, if you count Best Voice Acting by Christopher Judge.
Oh, yeah. If you count that, you're right. So yeah, 6 awards, and then Elden Ring got 4 awards. So that's 10 awards out of, I want to say there's 32, but I'm not sure. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. So, but now we get to talk about the exciting part, the part that everyone wants to know about. No one quite wants to know about the winners. A lot of people just watch for the announcements. So we'll talk about our favorites if you want to go first, and then we'll just go back and forth.
Of the announcements of world premieres?
The world premieres, the things that you're most excited for.
Okay, well, there's quite a bit. So I want to start off with probably the bigger surprise for me. And it's the one where it's like a big old a really nice, pristine looking CGI trailer. But it's like, the world's getting attacked by machines in the sky, giant like aliens, and like the buildings are crumbling down, and then it shows like this underground resistance, and then the underground resistance turns some machine on, and you're the machine, and then it cuts to being Transformers. I was like, wait! I just got all this hype for a Transformers game. No, I'm not dogging on Transformers games, okay? I'm not, because there are some really good Transformers games. Again, I played a good bit of them. They normally are pretty good, but this had me like, oh shit, what is this? Hyped. And it ends up being Transformers? I just didn't expect that. So that had me pretty hyped. Did you want to go back and forth, or did you just want me to go to town and just start fucking reloading?
It's up to you. I'll put in my piece, because I had Transformers on my list too. The game is called Transformers Reactivate, by the way. But yeah, once it showed like, the HUD and the mech standing up, I was like, oh man, I'm thinking about getting into mech games, especially with Armored Core, which we may discuss later. Like, I'm interested in getting into some mech games. And then it, like you said, showed the logo and it's Transformers. Oh man, I was like, what?
Yeah, that threw me off.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to go to town, you can go to town. And then I'll do my bit after.
Well, just let's see. I thought it was pretty cool that Returnal PC March, and then I believe Last of Us Part 1 remake is also March. I believe. Both around the same time.
That's a fast turnaround. That's a fast turnaround.
That is a fast turnaround, but I completely understand the Last of Us because it's technically a game.
HBO.
HBO. They've got the first game came out in 2013 originally, so it's not too big of a deal to just quickly turn that into PC sales. But that was pretty cool. Like I said, Returnal. Some other ones like The Last Remnant looks pretty cool. I played The Last Remnant 1, or Last Remnant 2 looks pretty cool. I played The Last Remnant 1, and I had some gripes with it, and it looked like, I can't tell you from looks, but the CGI trailer looks cool, but as long as they can fix some of the problems I had with how the instances worked, I'm excited to try The Last Remnant 2. Oh man, Space Marine 2. The fact that they kept the same dude from the one that came out on the 360 era. It's the exact same protagonist, exact same voice actor, and takes place after the first game from forever ago. So that's pretty dope. The Warhammer series is really starting to pick up some momentum and fan base, and their games are really starting to show some polish.
Yeah, I had a friend in high school that was all about Warhammer. I don't think he necessarily played the video games, but he was all about the minifigs and the more board game aspects of it. But yeah, I've never been super interested in it, but that is really cool. I will say, with you spoke about this being a sequel to a 360 game. There were a lot of those. There was what was it, Brothers in Arms? There was an announcement for that.
Hell's Highway? Is that what you're talking about?
I'd have to look at it again, but yeah, there's so many games I was like, man, I feel like that game came out forever ago. The last game was a long time ago. I can look it up real quick, see if I can find it. But yeah, there was quite a few of those where I was like, man, it's been a long time since that.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. Some cool revivals. I feel like there's something else that was fairly big. This is just recently on my mind too. Come on, Landen.
Company of Heroes is what I was talking about.
What is it?
Company of Heroes.
Oh, Company of Heroes. Yeah. Also, an older series as well.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate was the other one. Was that I feel like the
originally
last game.
Originally a Stadia exclusive poor game. Yeah, I don't know. They did pretty good about constantly having reveals and stuff. I was a little surprised by some of the pulls they had for some of these reveals, and the Mario trailer. The
little
it's
clip.
Like they know they have everybody at the edge of the seat, oh, you really want to watch this Mario movie, don't you? And then they give us that clip. It's just the perfect. He's living in a world of the video game, and it fits very well. And I like the whole vibe of the world and all the little minion people. And I think that movie's gonna be so fucking good, dude. Yeah. And I was all excited and happy to see that be there.
Keegan-Michael Key talking about how what's on Toad's head isn't a hat, it's a cap.
Yes. Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, he's right. And then no one responded. I was like, come on, he's right.
Yeah, nobody was giving him any love on that stage, unfortunately.
I love Keegan-Michael Key, and he's a great Toad on top of that.
Yeah, his voice is sounding perfect.
Yeah, so yeah, I was excited about that Mario clip too, and it was very, very good. I love how Toad was like, "Make way! If we don't get to the castle soon, his brother's gonna die." And Mario kind of looks at him and he goes, "Hey, I'm just trying to make you a path, all right?" So is that everything from you, or you got any more?
I'm looking it up because I feel like there was more. I have it just loaded in the chamber as soon as I can put my
Yeah,
eyes to it.
I can. Yeah, I can talk about one. Jedi Survivor.
Oh, dude, yes, yes. Jedi Survivor looks so good. I
Does.
love Cal Kestis and
Yes.
the guy who plays him, and I'm happy to see he's.
Oh yeah.
And I like how they made him older. Like in
Oh
the
yeah.
trailer, they show that he's older now, and the whoever he releases or whatever, that looks. I'm heavily interested, and it's just around the corner in March. There's so
Yeah.
much coming next year
Oh,
in
in
rapid
early.
succession. In rapid succession,
Yeah.
Dead Space and Forspoken already next year.
Yeah.
Hogwarts in early February. Like I can go on and on and on. It goes. I mean, just month after month after month, and release after release after release, leading all the way up to Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh
Here's
yeah.
Nissan.
No, but yeah, I was even commenting. I was like, man, Cal is looking fine with that facial hair.
Yeah, dude. I was like, oh, they did a time skip. Good. I'm
Yeah,
happy with that.
no offense to the actor that plays Cal, but he looks much better with facial hair than without.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he looks like, goes from a 17-year-old kid to like a 30-year-old man.
Yeah. But
Also,
yeah.
the Idris Elba, before I forget, Idris Elba popping
Oh
up
yeah.
there in Cyberpunk. I couldn't believe that.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty dope. I've been really getting into Cyberpunk, and I think it definitely turned itself around. Not as an amazing game, but it's still a good game. So I was excited to see Idris Elba making an appearance there. The Chuck Norris video game. What was that game called? Crime Boss. That's what it was. Crime
Yeah.
Boss. Where it
Crime
has
Boss.
all the famous people in there.
Yeah,
Vanilla
that was
Ice.
crazy. I
Vanilla
saw. Yeah,
Ice.
I was like
Danny
Vanilla.
Trejo. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I did pop off for Danny Trejo, but Vanilla Ice, I was just like, Vanilla Ice, really?
Danny Glover, like there's some
Oh yeah,
crazy pulls.
oh yeah. That's gonna be a crazy game. It's not. I thought like their little intro was cool, but I am not. I was not excited for that game, and then they showed the cast, and it's like, okay,
Okay, you might have something here.
you
Yeah,
might
you
have
may
something.
have something here. Also that trailer was like a hefty, long trailer, but it's called Banishers, and it's the people who
Yes,
made
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, and then also the Spider Studio, who made Greedfall and some other games. And the Spider Company has really started to show some good development through some of their
Yeah,
games, and underrated if you ask me. And then also to see Life is Strange really step up in not only storytelling but in gameplay. Like this game
yeah.
looks like it's going to be something good. Like as
Oh
soon as it
yeah,
showed me the gameplay, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" They like just to see the studio just make this huge leap into combat from just a like voice communication game where you're just choosing dialogue to actual
yeah.
full gameplay and combat. Hell yeah!
Oh yeah. No, I was watching this and I was like, and when they were showing the gameplay, I was like, didn't he say this was a Don't Nod game? Like this does not look like a Don't Nod game.
Not at all. I
And
was
then they
waiting
showed,
for like when the gameplay happened. It's like, oh, there's the low end graphics, and it wasn't, and it was
yeah.
not. Yeah,
But
that was
normally, I
dope
will give them credit though. Normally, they are able to hide their low end graphics through a really good art style. So I'm not gonna give them too much trash. You can work with lesser, tech and still manage to put out a pretty looking game.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, no, that game surprised me. I'm not familiar with Spider, but I was just like, don't nod, really? Um, but yeah, I was with you there. I had that on my list too. I'm intrigued too. Like his partner is actually like a ghost and helps him see ghosts, and like the whole point of the game is, I guess they're trying to release these spirits from their imprisonment or whatever. That seems to be what they're going with.
Huh.
But yeah, that certainly is interesting.
All of the Horizon Forbidden West DLC coming out in April next year. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The DLC, and then man, they really debated us, Zelda fans, because they're like, oh, most anticipated game, Tears of the Kingdom for you Zelda fans. Also, here's a world premiere, and it starts off with clouds, and in a very similar style to Breath of the Wild, and you're like, oh, this is a trailer for Tears of the Kingdom.
Nope.
And then nope, it was the DLC for Horizon. And then Horizon also showed off a trailer, I believe, for their VR game, right?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And what was it? There was a VR game that I was like, man, I don't know if I could do this because it's like VR. It's like Shadow of the Colossus meets VR, which I'm like, I don't know that I could do that, man.
Yeah, it does seem a little much, but
what was it? Behemoth, is that what it was?
yes, yeah. I thought it was gonna be like surprise a Shadow of Colossus sequel, but
Yeah.
kind of like a not a spiritual successor, but heavily inspired by.
And they're like, and it's for VR, and I'm like, oh no way, I ain't doing that. Count me out, Chief.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
So before we get too far away from it, there is a game that I fell in love with almost the moment they showed it. It is kind of like Portal meets Superliminal, if you remember that game. And it's called Viewfinder. And you're basically taking a photo, and then you're adjusting the photo in such a way that it creates a new path for you, and it's all perspective.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's trippy stuff.
But
it looks like a potential headache.
But a beautiful potential headache.
For sure.
That is one I wanted to shout out before we got too far. And then, do you remember the trailer for Earthblade?
No.
From the makers of Celeste, and they're adding like a combat system
right.
Yeah, and it's basically Celeste but with combat, which is intriguing to me because Celeste, the one combat encounter you have is you're running away while doing the platforming. So I'm intrigued how they will integrate that into the game. But man, it looks so gorgeous.
Yeah, I like that art style a lot.
And Celeste was what, 2017? So the fact that he's done, I mean, it's not coming out till 2024. They already said that. But like the fact that he's gotten that much work done on pixel art, or they, I guess, there's more than one person, but they got that much work done on a pixel art game in, 5 years or whatever. That's crazy. Check out Celeste if you haven't checked out Celeste. It is easily one of the best indie games to come out in the last, I'd say, decade.
I know a lot about it, but I never got a chance to play it.
Yeah. You got anything else, or should I start going off?
I mean, Diablo's CGI trailer was pretty dope.
I did like that.
Looked gorgeous.
Yeah. It sure did. My daughter was in my Twitch chat at the time, and she was like, ew, those look gross. And I was like, no, they look cool. But yeah, I guess there's a couple people that have gotten their hands on a preview of Diablo 4, and they are talking nothing but good things about that game.
Okay.
So, but it's a very, very early build. There's even still watermarks on the screen, which I couldn't imagine playing a game with watermarks.
That sounds awful.
But yeah. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Judas.
Bioshock.
I'm trying to remember. I wrote that down as one that it's Ken Levine, so it's basically it looks Ken Levine's the one that designed Rapture, so it looks like Bioshock. Which obviously already has me intrigued because, Bioshock is such a cool world. The world of Rapture and everything.
Yep.
So the fact that they're doing something similar, I'm very interested in Judas.
Yeah, their whole spell system or magic system looks really unique and cool.
Oh, it does, yeah, with the hand charging or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks cool, and then there's some trippy elements to it, which, I mean, I know Bioshock is no stranger to trippy, but it's a different type of trippy, if that makes sense.
Definitely seems like a different vibe, for sure.
Yeah.
A familiar but different vibe.
Yes. So then we have, next on my list is Bayonetta Origins, which you referenced earlier, which is the Bayonetta prequel of how Bayonetta became Bayonetta. It looks weird, but also I kind of dig that it looks kind of weird.
It does seem weird.
It's like it's almost storybook, and a completely different combat system from Bayonetta. But I'm intrigued. I like the idea of like taking the stories. I think because it's Bayonetta Origins, and then I forget the full title. Let's see if I can find it real quick. The full title is Cerezia and the Lost Demon. So I have a feeling that they're going to make more Bayonetta Origins, but based on different characters. And like show off those characters, but like I like that idea of it's a prequel, it's only attached in story, so let's do something different, It's only attached in lore, so let's do something different. I like that idea. And I want to see where they take that. Next up for me is surprising to the fans of the podcast is a FromSoft game. Armored Core looked cool.
Armored Core definitely looked cool. I really like, and to see where they're gonna go with that game after several successful, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and Sekiro, and now Elden Ring underneath their belt. Like what this game is gonna look like, and it was gonna be similar in certain ways.
Yeah, I'd like for them to do some things that have made them successful, because obviously they've done Armored Core before, and they didn't really get big until after they were done with Armored Core. This is their first time really coming back since they got big. So I want them to, obviously do what has made them become what they are now. but obviously I have had my issues with some of the design decisions they've made and so forth and so on. So I won't open that can of worms, but I hope that they still do what they do a little bit more of what made them popular, but still kind of keep with what they were doing back in the day with Armored Core, where it was much more easily playable for someone outside of the game.
Right.
Because the whole thing with Armored Core was you could just play the game, or you could get the big setup with all the different peripherals and have like your own like mech cockpit, and then play the game like that. So like there's still a way for hardcore players to play. But yeah, that's something I'm intrigued by. Also, I do love mech animes, and I've never really gotten into mech video games, so I do want to give them a shot. And the fact that there's so many that were shown off here, I was like, okay, maybe that's the next wave is, the next wave is mech games.
Maybe possibly, yeah. I guess making their big comeback.
Next up on my list is Nightingale, which is this weird kind of medieval fantasy, kind of set in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, like the formation of America's time frame, where everyone's in that style clothing, and there are guns of that era, but also they're still using swords and axes, and there's walking trees and weird looking rhino things.
Right.
That looks intriguing to me. I could not for the life of me tell from the trailer what the mission of the game is, so to speak. But I mean, we can always get that with later trailers. There's enough there for me to go, I'll keep my eye on this. I'm still not at the point where I'm like, oh, I've got to get this. I'm just like, oh, I'll keep an eye out. So the next game I'm intrigued by, but I'm also hesitant on, and that's Blue Protocol. Do you remember this trailer?
Blue Protocol.
It's Bandai Namco and Amazon Games.
Oh, yeah. I also don't know how I feel about this one.
Yeah, so I'm kind of mixed. Like, again, it's one of those where I could not tell what was going on.
But, right.
But it's a Bandai Namco anime game, so obviously there's something there. They make pretty good anime games. But yeah, I'm gonna wait and see on that one. But I thought it was good enough, at least for a shout out. And there's several games that were shown off that we just didn't mention. Some honorable mentions: Party Animals, Suicide Squad is honorable mention. And then a new Crash Bandicoot game, that's an honorable mention.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty cool game. That looked interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it before I knock it, but I'm definitely interested in trying it.
Yeah, so like there's several things we did not mention, but it's one of those things where there's not enough time for us to talk about all the games.
Oh, Hades 2. Yeah, Hades 2.
Oh yeah, Hades 2.
It's a big one. I can't believe they got a sequel already. That's so awesome. So excited.
I'm surprised you didn't mention that already. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. There's just so much. There's a lot of things announced. There's a long event, and
yeah, it was a long event. But yeah, so there's just was so much that we knew we couldn't cover in one episode. So Yeah. Keep your eye out for on Christmas week. That is when we will be putting out our Game of the Year awards for our show. And so the awards we're going to be working on are obviously Game of the Year. Everyone has to have a goatee. The FWIF Award, which is Fun with Friends. Thirst Award, which is Sexiest Video Game Character of 2022. Louis Le Prince, which is Best Cinematic. Boo Motherfucker, which is Surprise Game of the Year. And then the Charles Manson Award, which is Cult Following. Don't come after me, guys. I did not come up with the name of the award. That was one of those two.
What, me?
More than likely it was Gavin, but
yeah, they don't sound like me.
But he said that, and I was like, you know what? That's a good name for a cult following award. So yeah, we'll pre-record that, and that'll come out Christmas week. I gotta schedule that with those two. But thank you for listening. If you liked this podcast, or even if you didn't like the podcast, be sure to do all of the things, like hitting the like button, and the subscribe button, and the bell at the XofPlays on YouTube, or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com/thebriefingroom, you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.